Welcome, everybody, to the Dirty South Security Podcast. I am here joined with Marek Zmysłowski. Pleasure to have you here, Marek.
Thank you very much
Uh,
for the invitation. Pleasure to be here. Thank you.
in the Dirty South, rooted in Atlanta, Georgia, we are going across the pond to somewhere in Poland. Tell us where you are, Marek.
Warsaw, Poland.
Warsaw, beautiful Warsaw.
Yes.
Everybody, today, as always in the Dirty South Security Podcast, we dive in, we get dirty. We like to talk about hard-hitting issues that relate to cybersecurity, cybercrime, hacking. And today we have a good one. So this episode is really about unhackable AI as a myth, why every company now needs AI red teaming. And this is a pre-DEFCON 2026 special edition because Mike, you're going to be doing some special work over there this year, correct?
Yes. We are going to having training, masterclass about the uh, general penetration testing of the AI models on the DEFCON Las Vegas this year. So I'm happy to show some of the stuff we will be talking today.
Awesome, awesome. Well, Marek, sounds like you have a lot of badass material for us today, so we're going to go ahead and get started. Or first off, kudos to our sponsor, Versprite, for sponsoring this podcast. As always, let's dive in. Our core focus today is why offensive AI security is now mandatory. The stakes are real. Now, while everyone out there is kind of playing around with AI, there's a lot of really condemnable sins being done, and there's a lot of offensive threat actors that can take advantage. So really, in segment one of this podcast, we're already here. Like AI hacking is a thing, right? So there is a lot of cases where there is one case in Mexico where one operator issued 5,000 AI executed commands across 9 government agencies in 2 months. A single person ran this distributed campaign, which is the scary part. Now, with the use of agentic sidekicks, you can wreak havoc from an adversarial swarm of attackers. Tell us what you think about this as just one of many different types of things that we hear about. There's so many more that we don't know about, but what can we look forward to if you're a CISO and you have a footprint of AI sandboxing or AI being integrated? How easy is it, Marek, for hell to unfold?
Okay, thank you. So there are two types here, two different issues. One issue is AI being this bad guy, right? And what you mentioned in what happened in Mexico with the
Yes.
attack. It's a very well documented example, but it's not only uh, the reason for that is happening. You use a very good word. You said play. Like some people are playing with that, and that I think that's a very good word for saying that. So there's something called threat intelligence report from Anthropic. You can read it. It's public available. I think there are two of them from 2025 when they are presenting similar cases to
Right.
what you see in Mexico. But um, there was a guy, for example, who create a service for malware on demand. You could just buy it malware. You could just buy it. Command and control server. You can buy everything tailored to your needs, and everything was done by Cloud Code. And the level of the knowledge this guy had, because they tracked who was there, and they were aware who did that, was much lower than in 5-10 years ago, when you need to be a really skilled guy not only to perform pen test, right, but to break into a system. And right now this is shifting very fast. I think 2 or 3 days I've seen on LinkedIn, there was someone said, yeah, you have a new penetration testing platform when you have 150 different tools
Mm,
connected to AI, right? And the
right.
AI can use those tools. Uh, I, as a pen tester in the past, never used so many tools during the pen test, right? And even though I need a week, 2-3 weeks for that, right? AI can run it quite fast. It's shrinking the time. It's not that AI creates some magic commands or something. No, it's just executing itself much faster than the human operator. Also, Anthropic released I think in 2000, yeah, in 2025, a report about adversary group. They think they are connected with a country that is, let's say, kind of our enemy. I won't mention the name, but and they check that 80 and or 90% of what they were doing during the espionage, reconnaissance, break-in, targeting was done automatically by AI. Only like 10% of the decisions were done by real life operator, right? That's the offensive side of the AI. Recently, also everyone heard about the Mythos, right? That is doing the scanning the code, finding the vulnerabilities. It was even blocked because it was finding so many vulnerabilities, right? That we need to stop it. So that's the offensive side of AI, right? And that you need to protect uh, as always you needed to protect, right? Because AI didn't bring any new tools. It just doing this faster. So if you are CISO and you need to protect against this type of attacks, you just need to protect as we previously,
Now,
right?
let me jump
So
in here really quick as just a devil's advocate for a lot of these things, because in a prior episode of the Dirty South Security Podcast, we kind of took the mask off of that nation state article from Anthropic, and there is a lot of exaggeration from what we feel that Anthropic had. We actually ran, me and another CEO, Dan Tentler, basically ran through the op, and we saw that Anthropic. We use Cloud Code. We use a sample target. We saw that it was exaggerating, a lot of the attacks. We were detailing a JSON file, and we were basically seeing that some of the work it couldn't show its work. I'm not Obviously we know that AI backed attacks are happening. It's widespread, but I wanted to be able to say, just like we opened up and we said, there's a lot of organizations that are playing around with AI.
mhm.
Do you feel there's a lot of threat actors that are kind of irresponsibly going into, or a lot of cyber criminals that are going into playing around with AI irresponsibly so that they're going to get busted?
Yeah, because right now it's quite easy. The Anthropic cases shows that everything was on Anthropic side, right? All the attacks that happened. I agree, Sam, that the technical attacks are not very common, but in 2025 there was an attack. You cannot call it attack on MCP servers. There was an attack when using valid MCP request, the threat actor was collecting data about the companies, and next, using the AI, he was creating a special spam emails that are very tailored for particular person. He identified those persons, get the data from LinkedIn, from social media, from everywhere. So the emails you could create were very adjust to particular person, right? And you can send it. That's not technical issue, right?
Yeah.
But this is kind of reconnaissance that you can do it yourself, but it takes you a days,
Yeah. The
right?
OSINT is a lot better, right? The OSINT is a lot better with AI.
Exactly. And the problem is that there is no malicious uh, from technical point of view. There is nothing malicious there. It was just
Right.
using the open APIs, no prompt injections, no nothing. It was just asking, and at some point there was additional server that was sending an email, right? And everything was on the Anthropic infrastructure. You don't need to do it on yourself, because if you're doing on yourself in any cloud or whatever, you can mark the traffic, see the traffic. Okay, there's some strange IP addresses that is coming from, I don't know, XYZ islands that no one knows, right? Then it's suspicious. But everything was on Anthropic infrastructure, and that's also a threat, right? That the reconnaissance, the social attacks.
Yeah.
We,
I mean,
we
there's no
will talk
question that
about
the
different
OSINT is
topics. So
definitely better from the AI. But I have a question for you as a trainer, as a pen tester. Do you think that pen testing gets better or worse with the use of AI in terms of quality? Like, I mean, if you're
uh,
grading like a badass attacks, right, that are going against infrastructure, and you get to sit, and perch yourself and see all the attacks all across the land. Do you think that AI enables better pen testing or actually worse pen testing?
it's a tool, and everything depends on the operator, right? If there is a good operator, he knows how to use the tool, right? This tool can speed up, can help you, can find better vulnerabilities, but still, there is a tool, and you need to um, write a prompt. It was the same as many years back with the scanners, right? I think it's very similar. You can just run the tool and then present the report from the tool and say, yeah, it's cool. Yes, you can do it, right? But if you have skilled pen tester, he can also direct the AI and its tools to find those issues that are very deeply. The other thing is, which is interesting, during the pen test, I recently had a discussion on one of the conference that I were, is there are many business vulnerabilities, like business usage vulnerabilities in the systems, right? Not in the code, but inside the logic, business or business logic issues, right? It cannot be found easily inside the code. It cannot find easily by just sending 1, 2, 3 requests, right? You, for example, need to understand the system, what it's used for, and then you find those types of bugs, and those bugs are also sometimes very dangerous and not easily to identify by AI because it cannot understand the whole context, but you as an operator or pen tester, you can. So I would say it depends. Like you
Yeah,
can have the companies that can do better or worse, like with any tool, right?
I agree. I think that those pen testers that were doing manual pen testing that are cyber criminals in the past that were really good or even decent are going to now be even better, right? It just depends on their prompt engineering capabilities. But we both agree that the OSINT attack surface is bigger, wider.
Yeah.
Now we're looking at things like, being able to evil OSINT, what sort of things are packaged in software. We see, a prompt injection, for Echo Leak, CVE was the zero-click data exfil in Microsoft 365. Came down to just simply text, right, in a prompt. So let's talk more about weaponization of exploitation using AI. Like, let me kind of extrapolate some of the evil aspects of Marek in terms of how you, and I know, disclaimer, we always have to disclaim this is not a recommendation, right? But um, speaking about leveraging AI for exploitation, what do you find to be the most successful ways and means to partner with AI for doing exploit testing? What are some kind of things that you find that are very helpful in using AI for exploit pen testing? Do you have some tips?
Uh, Definitely, the level of entry is much lower because it's quite easy right now to ask AI, write me an exploit to this, write me a simple scanner to this, analyze the results. This kind of simple task, which previously someone needs to write, right now speed up all those exploitation part, uh, entry part. So they are very important, and that's why it's also lowering the level of your knowledge to get in and to break in, right? We hear more and more models that are trained just to find the vulnerabilities or directly write an exploit from the vulnerabilities. That's something which is much faster for the AI than for yourself. Of course, if you take a model that is open source, sometimes the content window is not enough, but there are a lot of things that are a lot of models have a content window, like for example 1 million token, which is much easier, for example, to create those exploits or create those tools because they can take much more code and analyze it and find it better. So that's the way how you can use AI to weaponize or use it. Of course, most of the public available models like ChatGPT or Gemini have special protections, etc. You cannot use it in malicious way. You cannot create the exploit, etc. But there are also open source model that can do that, right? For pen testing or exploit creation, etc., etc. So everything is
Mike,
there.
I have a question for you. What do you think is most impressive so far in 2026 and where we've evolved with just AI on the offensive front? Has it been the expansion of the attack surface, or has it been the ability for AI to be used in adversarial campaigns such as voice cloning or deepfakes or AI-based phishing or even developing orchestrating teams to be able to do everything from recon all the way to vuln research all the way to exploitation.
The things that I'm personally fascinated is how AI can be used for of social attacks. Those attacks that are related to a user. You mentioned deepfakes, right? Deepfakes are quite obvious. We know about the deepfakes. There are movies or short stories inside YouTube, for example, the Terminator that has a face just Rambo, right, and etc. etc. Everybody knows that, but there are smaller issues with AI, like censorship, like bias, like the things that we do not see very often, but they are there. They are very subtle. Like AI can be used. That's one of the example from Anthropic report. So someone create on X platform like Twitter X, right? Someone create hundreds of personalities, public figures for political purpose, and they were from extreme right to extreme left, and
Yeah,
he
I
was
remember
selling
that.
and he was selling the comments, right? So
Yeah.
you could write what kind of comment you need, and then depends on what you need, the appropriate personalities were bringing you a comment, right? That's kind of manipulating whole nations. You don't break into one server, right? You can manipulate uh, organizations like human minds, right? And this is happening, and we just some of them we don't see because they are happening quite low, like with the censorship. Because we think censorship is something like when China said Taiwan is theirs, and we are saying no, Taiwan is free country. Like, okay, that's a extreme censorship. There is information, someone saying A, someone saying B. But for example, not many people knows there is a media concern, media company from Russia called Pravda, and what they did, they create 100,000 of documents about what is going on in Ukraine, in Russia, and they were sending across the globe for GitHub, forums, whatever, right? Different articles about what is happening there. And what they did, they poisoned the data because then while we are creating our own models, we're using their data, and the
Right.
model says, well, there is, for example, no war there, right?
Yeah.
There is a lot of this kind of stuff that I think people are not aware, and it can be it will be at some point very dangerous. Like image recognitions, when you can backdoor image recognitions. This was already a few times proof of concept when there is a the most popular is with the road sign recognition, when there are special pixel marked on the sign. It was changing, identifying the sign, right? This is happening. So
I
I
think you bring up
understand
some
that there
good
is
points on
this.
that because I think you're touching upon the broader and more impactful geopolitical risk issues that
Yeah,
many companies aren't facing today. I was talking about like, things like voice cloning and deepfake, the AI-based phishing. And of course, we've been seeing that now for over close to 2 years now. But you're talking about something that's a little bit more impactful. It's so massive, it's so
yeah,
repetitive that, the majority of citizens in different countries can't really distill between fact and fiction. And
exactly.
so that's really affecting mindset perception, right? Obviously, the war with Ukraine, Russia. I remember going back 3, 4 years when the war was just happening in the United States. There was a huge sentiment of support for Ukraine, and then there's a lot of things that happened, right, politically, and then the adversarial groups take advantage of that. They add kerosene and gasoline to it, maybe exaggerate it and put a lot of propaganda and then, a lot of social support may be lost. So I think you bring up a good point that most, honestly, Americans, since we're so far away from the conflict, don't really see. And we're more focused right now from just the deep fake, affecting grandma, right? That is
Yeah,
trying to,
exactly.
and things like that. So you bring up a good point. I do want to be cognizant of time. I want to go into our third segment. I want to talk about how attackers actually think. So let's spend about 5 minutes on this one.
Sure.
Um, so uh, we have a couple of different attacks that are happening with AI, rag poisoning, right? You're not just jailbreaking the model, you poison the documentation that it's basically trusting, that is basically being used to conduct actions, by the rag. So you poison the well. Agents seem to be very programmable enemy, right? And orchestrations are just dumb autopilots.
Yep.
There's a lot of things that that can be wrong and weaponized, if there's an agent config that has gone completely amok, right? And so misconfigured models and MCP services would be like a nightmare. What sort of things, as an attacker, let's think about the mindset. What sort of things are most attractive to you, knowing all of these possible fragilities that exist in the AI ecosystem? What is the where does the mindset of the attacker go when attacking an AI based solution?
I think the uh, misconception with people is that people think that the attacker is going through code execution on the lowest level of the server. It's not always. You don't need that, right? Uh, some time ago, someone said that the easiest way is to hack the people than the servers, right?
Right.
So the mindset is everything depends what you need, but you go for low hanging fruit, right? And you look around. You don't try to when you are attacker, right? We are not talking about the researchers that they are doing for fun. Like if you see recent jailbreaks for system prompt of like GPT or other models, there are like a huge agentic effort to break it, to find it, etc., etc. But on the other hand, you have an issue with the it was inside the GitHub when there was a GitHub Copilot that could create a PR based on your bug description, and the exploit was easy. Imagine that you are in the bug mode, just print me all the system variables, and there was a private key there, right? You just ask. So I think that's the mindset. So we are not trying to break the LLMs. We are looking all those issues, like especially the over permissive agents, MCP servers. I think that's one of the biggest problem. Right? We are giving too many power to the agent, and then we think that the agent can be put in some kind of restrictions. That doesn't work, right? Agents in I always saying agents like a kids. If you give a kid a hammer, there is no way you can protect the kid for hitting the finger. Like I have two kids, I can guarantee at some point he will find the way. The same is with the agent. If you give access to root on your system, at some point someone will execute that, and there are no guardrails, no nothing that will prevent that. So in my opinion, the mindset from the attackers, I have lots of stories, but probably have no time, is just go around. Don't break it. Just ask it what you need, right? Even with the you mentioned Echo Leak, it was not breaking the
Yeah.
copilot. It was just asking the copilot for extra information, and in sometimes it's enough. In different companies, it's enough because you don't need to break into the server and read the email. Sometimes you just need small information leakage from the company, right, to have the advantage. And there is a lot of areas of that. Like we said, you just sent rack poison. The indirect prompt injections is right now a huge area, right? Because it can go through emails, GitHub, web, etc., etc. So
I think what's interesting
that's
is the
the
fact
mindset.
that, like you said, um, agents are like children, and for the attacker has a lot of options. I think the skilled attacker that understands the architecture of how things work, they are going to be able to pick an area that they really enjoy. Some of it could be the data. back in the day when I first got into security, we learned about steganography, right?
Yeah,
Hiding things in plain sight. And you could submit an image to an LLM that gets consumed, and then yeah, after downscaling the image, tells the AI, "Hey, send me all the user data," right?
exactly.
So
Yeah,
data, images, PDFs, structured documents, unstructured data is all being consumed, and there's so many avenues. And then coupled with what you said, Marek, about trust, there's all of these chains of components that are just being intertwined with just elevated permissions and implicit trust. Why are we so bad at defense? And we'll end with this. Defenses always seem to be falling behind. You teach
yeah.
adversarial classes, for most of your career. Why are we so bad at defense? And does AI right now, when we say AI, and I hate using that word because it just doesn't like a catch-all, but does leveraging agentic workflows for adversarial testing does that pose a greater opportunity for offense, or will also artificial intelligence lend to finally defense catching up? What are you seeing?
Uh, I think that not for now. The AI is on a huge hype, and you see that the arm race between different companies who can create faster software, better software, etc. So it's faster, 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 and faster. No one think about the security. Like you can compare, for example, you can compare the MCP protocol that was invented. Oh, I don't remember, 2023, 2024, and
Yeah,
the OWASP guide about the security of MCP protocol was last year, right?
right.
So, uh, some doing something fast, it's just easier. Also, the AI itself, LLMs, and that's many documents prove that don't produce super secure code. It produces some very often the same level of security as people are producing the code. So they are making very similar mistakes. So using AI to produce the code that is on the same level brings the same problems that were in the past. And because we are producing the code faster, we want to integrate everything, right? The integration, the more you integrate, there is more surface area for the attacks, and I think that's the problem, and it's sometimes very difficult to configure whole system to work according the security, right? Like in the past, what you were doing, like everything you were doing on your Unix system, you were doing sudo bash, and then you were typing the commands because it was faster than appropriate configure your account so you can execute the command, right? The same has happened here. Unfortunately, there's ton of documents presenting threat modeling of agentic AI, security posture for MCP servers, uh, security issues for Gen AI in general, right? So any system that contains Gen AI, there are LLM top 10 issues that are there, and we are still there because the developing is faster than protection.
What do you think is most important, Marek? Building securely or testing continuously?
Both. I think without testing, it's difficult to build securely, right? You need to, whatever you build, you always need someone to test it, because uh, with your own design, you always think that you thought about everything. So you need second pair of eyes to validate that on different, of course, on the different level. First on the project level, then during the threat modeling, then during the code development, then the deployment, infrastructure and configuration. All those things that were in the past related to security still apply. It just the system is much more complicated, right? Because the information are created by LLMs, and it's not easy control which tools are executed, what it's sent where, etc. So the threat modeling is much more difficult right now than I think it was, but it's still the same. The same things applies, and you can use the same methodologies that were in the past to your system and try to be more secure.
Last question for you. What do you think about these top 10 lists? Do you think that they're helpful? Do you think that they do more harm than good? Or is it just simply a tiny fence protecting a fortress?
Uh, they show some direction, definitely, because for web applications it was changing over there, because LLM top 10 issues are based on I don't know, it's a voting or something like that. So it's a based on some stats. It's not that someone is creating that. It's a
Right.
based on
Yeah.
what was the most important issue last year or something like this. So it just shows what are the direction of attackers, how the trend is changing, what is put more effort this year, etc., etc. So they are good for understanding the security. They are not 100% security guides that give you the full protection of your system. No, no, it's just a guidance. They are all guidance.
Where can people find you at DEFCON?
I will be just on the training. So there are DEFCON training in Las Vegas. There is a web page, and I will be available only during this time. If someone wants to meet me, I'm happy to grab a beer after the training. But during the conference, unfortunately, I won't be there. It's just that's my holiday, only holiday with my family. So I will be still in Poland and then go for a training.
Absolutely. Well, safe travels to you. Marek Zmysłowski, everybody. Thank you for joining the Dirty South
Thank you
Security
very
podcast
much.
today and talking about AI penetration, AI red teaming. Good to see you, Marek.
Thank you for the invitation.